So here we go again. This is number 79 of the Darkness to Light GodCast. Welcome back, Jim McFadyen here in the Vortex Centre for Wellbeing. Hope you're well. And it's been a couple of weeks since number 78 went out. That was War is Hell, and over the last probably just before that started. In fact, this GodCast is called Getting It. Number 79 is called Getting It. I'm going to explain what it is, and the whole process of getting it and living it and being it. And my 29th year now, working on myself and trying to get it and trying to work it out and try and make sense of it, all of it. And over the length of that time, all the different bits to it, the ebbs and the flows and the highs and the lows and the stops and the goes. It's been an incredible journey, the whole thing. And it's something that was said to me a few weeks back about not getting it that really kind of made me stop and start to kind of question and ponder a lot of things, and interactions with other human beings and their take on things, and especially those that have been on about this. Always fascinates me, where people are at. That's why I'm going to say love social media, because you can see exactly where somebody's at the minute they open their mouth, especially if it's a live video, so Getting It is what this is going to be called. I'm going to be talking about all of that. It was almost called I Can't Be Fucked, because for the last probably 2-3 weeks, that's exactly where I've been, and I'll explain a wee bit about that. And Getting It only came through right at the very end as I was documenting and deciding how I was going to do this and the points I wanted to cover. And It Can't Be Fucked really came from, just again the last couple of weeks when you reach a certain point and you've been on this journey, and you're being as flying high as I have been since probably the turn of last year, October, November, December into January, February, and really flying with the whole thing, just doing great, feeling great, really tending to myself, just living the life, serving God, serving the light, serving, this work, and doing my best every single day to show up and help as many people as I can. That's when I know I'm really flying, when I've got this really strong desire. You've got it so much for yourself that the desire and the intention is in to pass it on. That's what it needs to be. That's what this is all about. Get it for yourself first, master the self, and then kind of pass it on. And that was great for, right through the winter period. And after a really kind of up and down year last year, a lot of stuff I was dealing with personally myself. And then, a really great spell through the turn of the year. And then there always comes a point where, the wave breaks. Or it crashes, and you come off it. You come off that wave. In my experience, and particularly since the Vortex opened over the last 10 years, before that it was easy. I was just getting it for myself, and I was tending to myself, and being selfish and learning all this stuff that I'm now teaching. It's very different. It changes massively once you start teaching it, and you don't have the desire to put that time into yourself anymore, but also you don't need to put that time into yourself anymore. You get to realise that you're not meant to be sitting here in a cloud in meditation all the time. That'll be great. Once we die and we go back to spirit for whatever period of time that is, then fantastic, look forward to that. But meditation is fantastic, and everything that I am and what I've realised through awareness and what I've got for that practice, going inside and reconnecting back to myself and discovering myself, and then becoming aware of the reality, the truths in this world, and worlds beyond, understanding the divine and experiencing at some level the divine. For me anyway, when you add that into this work, and then it becomes, every single time it becomes too much, and you kind of almost can't keep up with it, and it actually starts to make you sick. I remember one of my teachers saying a long time ago, be careful when you work for spirit, it'll have you like 24/7, and that's certainly the case. There was a point there right through winter time where it was like every dream were like these epic adventures and downloads and realizations, and you'd wake up with almost like instructions. Meditation's incredible, just really profound every single time, and a really higher states like bliss a lot of the time, and connecting into that world and bringing information and inspiration through to try and help and serve others. It's full on, but me certainly, I've been unable to sustain that for any kind of long period of time. And eventually when you do come off it, then it becomes okay. So, what do you then do? And it's actually been great being away from it. It's been great being off it for a short period of time. It'll be interesting to see how long it is before the next wave comes and I start to get back on it again. But in the meantime, I have been, I suppose really kind of, when I say can't be fucked, I've just been really kind of tired of many things within this world. And the world itself, I cannot be fucked with the world at this moment in time. I think that's kind of where I'm at with the whole thing. The war, the people that are losing their life, those that have died. This time around, over the last couple of years, it's escalating every single day. It kind of seems like, and you don't know where you are with it. When you tap on the news, depending on where you get your news source from, then that'll determine, what you're led to believe. Led to believe is the correct way of putting that. They guide you in a very specific way. So you never really get the full story. You try and get, from behind the other side. We're obviously in the Western mainstream media, and I don't watch any of those kind of outlets. I'll go online for my news, and it's fascinating, when you tap in and you see some of the information that's coming out from the other side, behind the kind of enemy lines, if you like it. And you start to get a more accurate picture, but again, there's no the reporting that's done on it. You don't actually know where you are, so that becomes like really kind of overwhelming and bamboozling, that whole thing. In fact, the whole social media thing, which is where almost everybody's getting all their information from just now. I'm so tired of that in so many different ways. The realisation a couple of weeks ago that you actually don't know what it is, whether you're watching something that's real or whether it's been created with AI. AI is so good just now, and I suppose to the untrained old eye as well, which would be myself, then it's difficult to see, and then you start to look at it and you question everything. So you don't know what's, there's nothing that's real. That whole thing is completely fake. So it's been tiring watching it. It's been tiring me running about it. I had a good crack at it. I've been very aware of this war in the Middle East coming for probably the last 18 months. Again, a couple of commentators that I kind of tune into now and again, listening to the way that it's going and what they're trying to do, and it's just really a matter of time. I mean, you feed into that, where I've been and what I've been talking about, for the last many years now. How the reset and the suppression, the ultimate suppression of mankind, it comes through war every single time. That's one of the biggest ways that they stop us, especially, when you look at the amount of young males that have lost their lives in the war. I was up at North Berwick on Saturday, and there's a war memorial in the middle of the town, and it was the poppies were still out. The poppies lying on about the bottom of it, remembering the war. And it's when you look at the amount of names in that kind of small town that lost their lives for what, just and you can, the story that they give you is to why they lost their lives, but you think of the damage that was done with that and the decimation, to those that are left behind for one, but the amount of young men and women, but predominantly young men that lost their lives, as wains, like young 16, 17, 18, 19, like babies, getting fucked into some bus somewhere, driven to an army barracks, given a gun. And then, weeks later they're shipped off to, a boat somewhere, and then before you know it, they're fucking getting fired at with fucking the Germans and losing their life, so many of them. The chemical attacks, the traditional war, bullets and bombs and that kind of traditional warfare, is just so brutal, and what they went through, and what it does, what it to everything, how much it kind of holds us down and suppresses us down. And for many years now, I've been a wee bit concerned about that, and then the whole thing comes up with the Epstein files, and then they've got a reason. Those that in effect maybe don't push the buttons, but they've got certainly control over the buttons, and in terms of who we go to war with and what we fight for, and how these things are started. Then very quickly there's a reason, a really strong reason, to instigate these wars and cause the chaos and the carnage and the distraction, I suppose, is the way that I see it. And the time we're in just now, when you look at the way the world is set up, you look at the political systems, and you look at the governments, and you look at the controllers, which, whatever level they're at, above the politicians and those that actually, run this world or whatever this time we're in just now, they control certainly a big part of what goes on in the world. There's a time where I'm feeling that you're kind of waiting for something to happen just now. And it's almost kind of worse waiting. It's almost in that kind of waiting room of uncertainty, and you're waiting for the exam results, or you're hanging about, and there's that you're not quite sure like how it's going to go and how it's going to impact you, and at the same time when you're seeing it every single day that more and more people are dying, innocent people, women, children, human beings that are being killed in these endless wars, and the other side to that is the amount of people that are now standing, in the light, I would say, even though some of them you would have to question, like, who they are. Again, the commentators, the ones that are really famous, the ones that are the kind of superstars in the world, you've got to question every single bit of it in terms of what their agenda or what their plan is. Unless you know somebody directly and you've met them and you get to feel them, it's difficult to believe anything because you don't know who these people are. Most of them are actors. Joe Rogan's one of the guys that I keep going back to. I've been just identifying for the last probably 8 or 9 years about him. Just that he is an actor. He's not a comedian. You can. And the truth as to how that goes together and how that works out is you just need to watch his comedy and to realise he's definitely not a comedian. So he came from an acting background, and you look at like what his show has done, and the amount of times I've watched him divert other people and distract other people, and take them down different paths. The people that he said on his show, which I right at the very beginning, when I started, probably 2015, 16, whenever it came out, or whenever I got around about it, I was watching a lot of the stuff, and then I realised very quickly, again, you don't know who he is, and just because somebody says something, then Lex Friedman's the other one, for the minute I saw him, it's just like if he's not controlled opposition in CIA, then I don't know what is, and then you look at these people, how they're funded, and why they're so big, why they're allowed these platforms, these massive platforms that, the algorithms to get out to the world, and the people that they're bringing on, in terms of the message that's coming through, so you really need to kind of question everything, every single bit of it. And what we do know is that it doesn't work. We know that the entire system, that the entire thing, in terms of how it's put together, and the political commentators that are commentating on it, it's not in the best place just now. The world is really upside down. It's a year of chaos. We're in a world of chaos just now, and I think for me, I've just become really, really tired of it. Over the last few weeks, the realisation, looking online and watching it, and seeing the fake. Just seeing, tired of just like unauthentic bullshit, stuff that doesn't matter, stuff that isn't real, stuff that really who gives a fuck. The great thing that I did see bits of, and I couldn't bring myself to watch the whole thing. I don't really watch ever television, but the Manosphere documentary with Louis Theroux, and watching these young men, and seeing who they are, and then seeing both sides of the argument and the conversation as to what he'd done to them, or whether it was a hit job, or whether he'd set them up, and really all he's doing is providing a platform for them to express themselves, and then when they express themselves and you get to see who they really are, then you get to see a level of ignorance, and just really kind of sad for me watching every single one of them that associated with that. The guys that are doing it, the guys that are benefiting from it, the people that are getting sucked into it, in terms of the young males that these influencers, that's what you call them. When I was writing up on my board, I had the notion of that they're not influencers, they're influenzas. They're like viruses, these people. Because they're only as, again, self-gain. They're the only ones, as far as I can see, that they would benefit from this, and the lifestyle that they sell in terms of who they portray themselves to be. It's, you talk about the circus and you talk about the illusion, and you think about the value in terms of what these people are bringing to the world, and their voice needs to be heard. We need to identify it and look and see where they are, absolutely, but at the same time it's like, how many people are actually, from what they're teaching, from what they're sharing, There's no good comes from it. How they depict, how they portray women, what their belief system is in terms of, the relationships, and which feeds back to the basics for me, back to connection and love and the truth and the way that it's meant to be. When you see society like that, and you see the people, the young men that are really strongly influenced, your man Tate's the other one, the two of them, forever. The first time I saw them, I'm like, because I don't watch anything, I don't see anything online. I'm unaware of what's going on. I try and stay in this bubble of the Vortex, and try and stay as much as I can, and on my own page and in my own lane, and just doing what I'm doing without getting caught up in anybody else. It's so toxic. The whole thing is, really kind of at a point now where it's so far gone, and people are so far removed from how it's meant to be, and who they're meant to be, that how we get back there, I have genuinely the idea. The whole thing, the illusion, in terms of what we believe ourselves to be, the circus that we live in, how it's been sold to us, what we've been basically educated, and trained growing up. You see these young men now and young women that are basically growing up in their phones, with no real kind of life experience, and they believe one way to be a certain way. They maybe see some fucking guru online, or they see the angle that they're going to be attracted to in terms of something that's going to make them special. You could see that in one of the clips that I saw for the Manosphere. A couple of the people in it. One of the young girls in particular, I think she was a plasterer, and then she discovered what's the thing, they basically, as OnlyFans, they take their clothes off, but do whatever they do on there, and you think that's a female plasterer for somewhere up north, and like, who is she? Like, she's nothing. What's she got to offer the world? Really, like, she might be a nice lassie, and like, good luck to her, and I wish her all the best, but her life, without selling her soul, and doing whatever she does on camera, she'd probably have married the local mechanic and get a holiday a year, and work 7 days a week, and even the fact of a woman being a plasterer, it's like there's something not right. So to think then, when I saw him, a wee clip that I saw him like talking to her and just using her, and I get it. I can see like why she's attracted to that, and I can see why she needs to do that to try and get a piece of the this illusionary success pie for herself, and become somebody, because otherwise, what is she? Like, not that much. The same as the rest of them. They've got nothing. It's just noise. And when you really get beyond, the mask, and you see beyond the veil, which I think a lot of that did. You get to see the real person. Really, by him just putting the mic in their face and allowing them to speak and document their lives, you get to see very quickly. You see behind the screen, you see behind the act. That's the big thing, when you get to see that these kids are basically playing a character that is allowing them to get the rewards that they need to live this fucking bullshit success lifestyle. And when you take that away, when you take the character away and you see who they really are, there's nothing there. They've got nothing to offer. There's nothing real in it. It's all fake, and you can see the amount of reels that they do as well. That it's staged, where they're wherever it is, they're in the barber shop and they're getting a shave, and it's like it's almost like fucking the whole thing's scripted, the whole thing. And if that's who you're looking to for your answers, if that's who you're looking to as a model, a role model for success, or what you can kind of strive to be in this world, again, the illusion has won. The deception of this life, and what this life is sold to us as, what we are sold as in terms of what it means to be a human being. That whole illusion is the bit that needs to change. So it's for me, the last few weeks I've been quiet. I've been doing what I need to do to kind of just keep my head down, kind of waiting for something to unfold, hoping it doesn't, and then because you're in this uncertain kind of place where you almost can't make plans in some way. It kind of destabilises you, or it certainly destabilised me. And you kind of get to this place, you get a wee bit of uncertainty, and it's like, right, okay, so and we need, the human beings, our brains, we need certainty. We need to kind of know, like, this is a plan, this is what's happening, and therefore it's very easy when you don't have that certainty, and you're a wee bit unsure of how the whole thing, especially the kind of scale of what they're talking about, the consequences. Even today, I saw last night the threat of America taking out the energy supplies and the water sanitation centres, and the impact of countless people, basically like doing away with their water and doing away with their fuel and their energy, and the people that are making these decisions, and how far that whole thing has gone. When you realise that the kind of global impact, and you realise, that there's two very distinct sides just now with everything that I see. And 99% of the world is stuck in the circus. And the circus for me is everything. It's everything except the way that it's meant to be. So the illusion to me is the whole thing, the way it's been set up. The school system, the educational system, what we're taught, what we learn, what we're basically, what's fed into us our whole life. The banking system, getting your mortgage, getting yourself into debt. The working system, making stuff that actually doesn't actually fucking matter, most of it. Trying to feed or provide for somebody that's got these desires to, try and attain all this stuff that doesn't actually matter, and in fact 99% of it we don't actually need. But again, we've been trained that it's beneficial and it's going to make us feel better, and it's the right way and how it's meant to be as a human being, to do whatever it takes to receive and earn these like kind of gold nuggets as you go, these prizes, these fucking, these gifts by your endeavour, and basically giving your life away, in exchange for paper. It used to be paper, exchange for probably like credits now on a screen, so you can then go and buy more stuff. And it's the life experience and coming from it from the lower self, which is what you see in the circus, the ego. People ask me all the time about the ego and what the ego is. The ego is the human self. It's the I think, me identifying as Jim McFadyen, this physical human body, and see myself as an individual, see myself as separate, see myself, for most of them, they're on this quest to achieve as much as they can. As this lower self, this again, it's a character that we play in this lifetime, the name that we're given and the family we're born into and our belief systems and our religion and the stuff that we grow up with, depending on what the environment is, that determines who we become. So at that point, for most people, certainly in the Western world, then it's all about, success is to have the stuff, isn't it? Have the toys, have the money, have the cars, have the holidays, have the freedom, which when you see it and you know how it goes together, that freedom normally comes with bondage. Unless you're sitting with proper money, where you can really be free from the entire system. But most of these people, they're living in debt. The world's in debt, especially just now as they continue to turn the screw, and it gets tighter and tighter, and inflation continues to rise, and the catastrophic effects of the Middle East already, just because of the price of energy and the realisation of how that impacts us in the Western world, and then you get to see so what's going on. What is the truth behind this war? What are the reasons behind it? And that's a good thing that's coming out just now. Although it's so difficult and there is so much fake and there's so much fucking, these influencers. If I see another young guy, I said to one of my team a couple of weeks ago, you don't get to, if you're still staying with your mammy, you don't get to give me advice. You really don't. These young men that have got all the fucking answers, they've never ever got any children. They normally stay with their mum. And maybe them up the night if they're strong on a ladder and they've got a house or a room somewhere. But the idea, they're sitting with the fucking cigars and just like as if they've made it, and they've got fuck all. Most of them, you know them. And I've met quite a few of them over the years. When you actually hear behind the scenes, you hear the stories of the debt and what they do to people, in terms of they're living one life online, spending all this money and living the life, and then when you actually hear the truth as to what they're all about, and no paying their bills and fucking, just beg, borrow and stealing. It's a whole fake it till you make it thing, isn't it? Selling an illusion. And what a waste of time and energy. It really is for everybody. I suppose from their point of view, it's like, what else would they do? How do they? It's like the plasterer bird, that becomes an adult star, is that what you call it? If she's just a plasterer, these young laddies are the same. They're just normal people in their fucking bedrooms going to the gym, with not a lot going for them. So at that point, if they can go online and try and digital creator, and create whatever it is that they create, they feel that their God-given mission and desire to take to the world. There's just so much time wasted, so much energy and stuff that doesn't change anything, and only serves the very, very few, and the negative effect, on the world in terms of what they bring to the world. The content they provide is just absolute nonsense. Nothing benefits. So it's all of that stuff, you know, the whole thing, the war, the lies, the government, the politicians, the people, you know, AI, the uncertainty, the level of, you know, suffering that people are going through just now, the illusion, the circus, you know, the chaos. I can't be fucked with all that stuff. I'm really tired of it. That's where I'm with all that stuff. Can't be fucked. Not that I don't want to get away from it or run away from it. I'm really tired of the whole thing. Tired of this world, I suppose. Which has been a challenge for me at different points in my life, you know, and at this part of the journey. The last 30 years have been, when you really get it and you see through the veil and you start to, you know, tune into these higher vibrations and experience meditation and experience the divine, and you know, when you come back to the human being experience in your day-to-day life, then sometimes, in fact a lot of the time, it can be very challenging. And you know, that's certainly where I find myself just now, is like kind of challenged with the physical side of things. You know, I can't really be bothered with it. It's too toxic. It doesn't work. It's broken. Too many people are suffering, and I don't really want to play in it. And at that point, you know, it's then what do you do? And this is what feeds into getting it. You know, the name of this GodCast. When I got that message a few weeks back, and how somebody had basically got on about the work, and it was quite deep into the work for a short period of time. Again, somebody gifted it to them, which never works. I'm going through that just now, this very day. My desire over the last few weeks to help has never been greater, and really close in one area. I thought we were really close in one area. It turns out now we might not be as close as I thought we were. In fact, it might not happen, but an opportunity to really go in and provide, you know, these tools and techniques and help people in so many different ways. You know, the opportunity I felt was to almost lift up, well, it wasn't almost, it was literally to lift up an entire community with a vehicle. And then, you know, just over the last week or so, it's kind of, I've spent so much time over the last few weeks thinking about it and like planning it and creating it and seeing, like, you know, putting our entire team in. You know, so many good people run about this, so many teachers that run about the Vortex now, like, that I stand beside. They're getting to the point where they're ready to teach and ready to help people. So, but it's just fascinating every single time where I try to give it to somebody. Even though this one really wasn't my fault, somebody brought it to me. But then I suppose my intention to, like, okay, let's go. When I decided to get into it, and you know, every single time, and that was certainly the case with this comment of, you know, not getting it. You know, somebody looking at me. And this isn't a slant on them. This isn't a slant on anybody. This is just me basically taking a comment and then replying to it or responding to it, coming from my perspective of what this work is all about, and what really can I get in it really means. That's, you know, because everybody's trying to get it, which isn't actually true. So few people are actually trying to get it. Most people are just trying to survive, and then there's a lot of people that are trying to get it, you know, in terms of become success. But the getting it that I'm talking about is very different. You know, so over the years, you know, when I really kind of 18 years in, going back 10, 12 years ago probably, around about that time, when I experienced that first life-changing enlightenment, as I call it, you know, the direct experience, the union with the divine, union with the field of consciousness, becoming it is what it felt like, you know, universal consciousness, becoming the field, becoming the divine mind, becoming the tree. Jim completely disappeared. Becoming this field of like electrical current, vibration, frequency that felt like love. Was the only way I could describe it at the time. Unconditional love, and the realisation that feeling that I became is possibly and very probably why they say that God is love. And you know, the benefits that I brought into my own life, the benefits that it brought into my life, is probably a better way of putting it. By being in alignment with it, by being on this path where, you know, every single day, once I understood the divine properly, and years, you know, just chasing that, and every bit of it was really good. It was great, every single part of it. It was exciting for all the years, like hundreds of thousands of hours, I would imagine. I did the math once, it's hundreds of thousands of hours of doing this work. It's like every single day, it's many times. It's all that I do, you know, and certainly for the last 10 years, it's pretty much all that I do is this work. So you can't really count up, you know, that how much time you're spending on it. Even when you're sleeping, you know, you're the unconscious mind, you wake up with inspiration. The amount of times I wake up with the poems and the posts, the amount of times I couldn't keep up with the stuff that was basically coming through me for being in that place. So it's like being in it and being on it, and then getting to that point where I really got it. Getting it, for me, enlightenment means the direct experience of God, which is the divine, the essence of the divine. It's not God, some dude sitting on a throne. It's not his son, Jesus Christ, that kind of God. It's not any deity, or I'm talking about the source. I'm talking about the reality, the truth of this, whatever this is, this realm that we are in, and the power that created that and the power that's behind that. For me, what I experienced and what I became when I experienced the union and became it, and then the realisation of oneness and wholeness and being complete, and there may well be other stuff above. I hope there is. I hope there is other things above that. I hope there's other experiences. But when I got it and I came back, I realised, right, okay, so I've got it now. I've experienced it. And then at that point, very, very quickly, the same day, it was like, right, okay, so what do I need to do with this? What is the work? And then it became giving it away. Then it became trying to help other people experience, what I'd got, which, maybe foolish on me, because how many people are going to spend the time that I spent, every single day, never missed a single day, even to this day, 29 years in, I've never missed a day, between the meditations and the contemplation and the going inside and getting quiet and, making sense of stuff and the healing journey that comes with that. There's so many different bits to it. And when I really got it and then realised that was the next part of this, was to try and pass it on and to pay it forward. That's come back probably 10-12 years ago now, and opened the Vortex in 2016, and really kind of since then, when I really got it for myself and really knew it for myself, I knew the divine, I knew that what my role is, the lower self, Jim, the human being, and the work that was going to be required. I knew the kind of spiritual journey, the journey of the soul that was going on at the same time. Both of them, fantastic and vital, the lower self, the ego, and then the higher self, the non-duality. I was experiencing both these every single day, on my journey. And there's so many different bits to that. The ebb and flow of living this life, being a dad, being a husband, being a parent, being, going to work, money for holidays, new motors, like all the stuff that you need to do in this lifetime. It's fine to get it, as I discovered, early in the morning time, between 3 and 5, half 5, every single morning. I would get it every single day, and I would be in this place of bliss. For a period of time, it was every single day. I lived at that level for a long period of time. Nobody knew about it before I opened the Vortex, and I was basically really on this devotional journey, to experience the divine and to really kind of experience enlightenment. And then when I really got it, I decided that the time was finally here, because there was a couple of years where, after I got it was like, just nothing. It's like, and I've said it on here before, they go to the moon, allegedly, and then they come back, and it's like what's next? You can't have all your goals to go and achieve a certain thing, and then it's like there needs to be, it's the constant expansion. It never ever ends. This work it will never end for me. The journey of the soul and the intentional journey, the intentional expansion, and the desire to create, and that never ever stops. It should never end. So when you come off it and you're in a place where you're living your life and you've got it, and you've basically spent this whole time of getting it, and then you come into this place where, right, okay, so now the idea is I'm going to try and take this to the world. I'm going to try and give people the experience of what I've got, and then you realise that people that are walking in, with like all sorts of stuff, but really no idea what's involved and getting to the bit that I got to, or the work that I had to do, in terms of the diet was massive, the environment, taking people out on every level. I had a wee look through my blocked list on Facebook a while back, and there's a lot of people on there. There is people, anybody that came into my life that wasn't in alignment with where I was going, or anybody that made me feel bad, anybody that was probably questioning what I was doing. I was bringing anything other than support, and there wasn't that many of them bringing support, if I'm honest. I would just simply take them out of my life. So really devotional. Everything matters. Everything mattered. And it still does, and that's something that I struggle with, is watching people, how sloppy people are just now in terms of with their manners, and how they lack of respect, basic respects for other human beings, basic respect, for themselves, and that's before you even get to the stuff that really matters, things like the divine, and that comes for the parents. And you've seen that on the Manosphere documentary. The parents are all over the place. The parents are fucked, of course they are. Their environment's fucked. If that's your son, and you're promoting that, and you're part of that, and you're helping navigate that, then fucking shame on you. So they've got a huge amount to answer for as they stand there with their fake teeth and their fucking fake lives, that's been funded by basically fucking fake everything. Just theft. It's like theft, and whether they know they're doing that or not, I don't know. They probably don't, because they're so ignorant and they're so lost in the whole Marbella life, and whatever that idea again, that illusion of success is. It's fascinating, the whole thing, to see. So when I came back and when I opened the Vortex, when I was finally ready, 2016 it opened, and the desire was to basically, share what I was doing. It wasn't really about the spirituality at the time. I probably wasn't comfortable enough talking openly. I wasn't comfortable doing videos, so I was doing posts. I started doing posts. I started just kind of putting up a wee bit of what I was doing. First time I was on social media was back then. I hated it, hated the whole thing. I always thought Facebook was just somebody putting a picture of the steak they'd had the night before, or their Fitbit team winning at the weekend, and that never really interested me. I was always too busy with my own stuff. But when I came online and I decided I was going to do it with the singular intention to get this message out there, and to become like a messenger for this way of living and being, and whatever that meant, in the beginning I was probably just kind of trying to share a wee bit of positivity. I was just talking, I suppose, about where I was at, and the things that I was doing, which is all I've ever done. That's the only way that I can do it, that makes it kind of easy. And then eventually it fed into the poems coming through, and I was, I think the Wim Hof thing, when I became a Wim Hof method instructor in 2017, that was a kind of almost like a diversion, where I was doing my own thing, and then this came up, and it was so big and so significant, and made such an impact in my life, and in fact it was an incredible piece of the Vortex puzzle in terms of what it done for me. The breathwork first and foremost, the expansion that came with it in terms of who I became on that journey with Wim Hof, going through the academy and all that kind of good stuff, and then the cold practice as well was huge in terms of what it done for me, and the introduction to the science, learning about because I was fucking interested in science. I used to go to school to see my girl, or play Fitbit. That was my two reasons for going to school. So to then go in and learn advanced, although the Wim Hof method at the time I thought it was advanced, it wasn't. But to learn in basic biology and the impacts of stress in the body, and so many doors are open for me, so many realisations in terms of the negative impact that stress had on me. That's when I really was putting together the damage that had been done with vaccines for myself, and realising there was a reason why I was up all night every single night and I couldn't sleep and I couldn't switch off my stress response, and learning about the nervous system, the two halves to it, and how you can influence that. And that was a really significant kind of part for me. Going through that whole thing. So I probably get kind of diverted a wee bit. I was one of the first cold instructors in the country, in the world probably. I think I was the second group of Wim Hof Method instructors back in December 2017. I went through the academy, and at the time I was chucking hundreds of people into the cold, regular, big events, free events, putting people into the cold, literally blowing them away with breath work, taking them in and battering them with the breath, and switching off their nervous system. And I really kind of get sidetracked myself, because I believed in this whole, especially where Wim was at the time. This is before he kind of really properly made it, before the wheels come off and whatever he became, which happened very quickly. But the first year or so, I was very much, I was there to help him. I wanted to help him. I wanted to go and help, the first time I met him, that's what I said to him. I'm not here for you. I want to help your mission. I'm here to contribute to this, which was obviously a force for good, because of what I'd experienced. And I want to try and help in any way that I can by bringing in my previous, what was that at the time, 15, 16 years, 2016. So I'd been on it for nearly 20 years at that point. On the path, so I wanted to I was already there. I'd already experienced enlightenment. I already kind of knew who I was. There's nothing that Wim was going to do for me or give to me that wasn't why I was there. I was there to help. And then for that next couple of years, the whole cold water thing, and the amount of people that I put in the cold, and they were introduced to, the timing for the Vortex. The Vortex was busy right at the beginning. I was doing it all for free, basically helping people for free, which was great. I loved doing that. And there was enough people, especially during lockdown. I can remember some of the nights during lockdown. There was one night in particular, I think with 13 on a Friday night. It was right in the middle of lockdown. You weren't allowed to leave the house. I think it was 13 in. 13 or 14 people in the main room. And a big meat wagon pulled up outside with sirens flashing, and everybody's lying in bliss with their eyes shut, and the blind was half open. It was right in the middle of summer. It was probably about 9:30 at night, so it was getting dark, and this big police wagon pulls up with the lights flashing, and my life literally flashed before my eyes. Thinking, oh fuck, we're going to get, getting done. We're getting persecuted and prosecuted for teaching people to breathe and switching off their nervous system. And at that point, I then started to talk about the spirituality and talk about, meditation, and I was definitely talking more about, I was becoming more comfortable about sharing my story and the reasons as to why I was doing this work. But the runabout then, and then when I started to, get away from them, and then, fell away from them, and decided to go my own way. Off the back of that, and then the debacle with Heal Scotland, which again was a great learning curve, but every single time where I trying to go in and trying to help, it just doesn't seem to work for whatever reason. A big part of that's on me because of the way I do things. I get that, but it just wasn't meant to be. And then off the back of that, really going on my own and deciding I was going to do it in a different way, it then became like, okay, so what is it that I teach? What is it that I'm doing? And it's these tools and techniques which have become the program. What we've now got online the last 2 years created the program, which is this way of living. The art of intentional living, that's what it is. It's basically taking responsibility and taking ownership for your life, and using these tools and techniques to make it the best that you can every single day. That's what this is. That's what these, that's what it's all about. That's what I'm doing every single day, and documenting it and then like making it a thing. Whereas before it was just the stuff that I was doing and kind of sharing with people, but there was nothing kind of like solid or even like real that you could put it was basically they'd have to get the information from me. So the last couple of years we've created the program in digital form, the app and online, and then obviously the kind of the physical connections and the physical interactions of the community now, whether it's online, we've met, almost everybody's met in person as well, so we meet online and we do the work together and we sit in meditation together. Which is every single time now, these really kind of profound life-changing experiences that not just myself but so many people are getting, so to create that over the last couple of years and to really document like what I was doing, and then last year I suppose when the wheels come off for me, the age that I've got to, obviously for whatever reason, the challenges that I was facing on a personal level, me personally, the stuff that I'm having to deal with. And then anybody that's been watching this closely knows that we went through, it was fucking hell towards the end of last year. We had some real kind of family challenges which were really difficult, and add into that me probably burning myself out over the last couple of years a couple of times, like being really done in with it, and just like nothing left. Came off the back of 8 months being full God, as I call it, just all in for God every waking moment, and then getting to the point where I was absolutely broken with it. Again, how many times again do I get to that point where it takes it out of me and it makes me know, well, it's fascinating. This job is dead simple, but it's no easy when you understand what it is. So, but for me, thinking back to the original getting it and no getting it, when I got that message, and what it basically said, what they said was, to see somebody that had been doing it as long as I had, and to realise they were still struggling. So they'd watched a video, they'd been watching me, whether it was one of these or it might have been one of the kind of the community videos, and then the realisation that if I didn't have it after all these years, after 20 plus years, then they lost hope in it, so they then had to go and find a different way of doing it for themselves, which I understand and I get. That's a valid point, fair play. But it made me go away and think about what getting it actually was. And it was a bit of a curveball for a few days. There was a lot of kind of kicking it about, I suppose, and pondering it in my head and trying to make sense of, again, there's the hurt factor. When you give away everything, there's an exchange, but you give your life and your soul and your heart, and some of the experiences that they got with this and what they became because of it is a completely different story. Fascinating, that whole side of things, but it's like, when you get to a point and you have a really good look at yourself and you go, right, so what does it actually mean? What am I doing? Because straight away I'm questioning, like, right, okay, so like, what is this and how does it work? And does it really work the way that I know that it works? When somebody's getting, and that's been one negative experience out of like almost everybody. But again, you go to the negative and you look at it, and that's a lot of where the best lessons are, because it made me go inside and go, right, okay, so what is getting it? What does getting it actually mean? And it took me a wee while, it probably took me the best part of a week to make the kind of peace with it, and to not that I was offended with the insult because of where it was coming from. But it was certainly food for thought, and it made me kind of sit up and really check in and go, right, okay, so what is it you're actually doing here? What is this all about? Like, what are you trying to get people to get, and what does it do? And then I realised very, very quickly, that all the things that I was able to do during that period when they saw me, at my lowest, I suppose. And again, me being honest and just speaking my truth and talking about what it is that I'm doing and how I was able to navigate my way through that by using these exact tools. And that's what made me realise that this is what this is. These tools and techniques, they're designed and they're put together in such a way that it's like a care package, to navigate your way through this life. Because to think, and I can only guess in terms of what they think getting it means, but getting it, if getting it means to be happy and bubbly and joyful and up and, fucking rainbows and unicorns like all the time, to be in spirit, to be inspired, to be going about as this elevated sage, in that state, in that space, when I'm in that place, when I'm in meditation as I was this morning, early on again, when I'm in that place, I've really got nothing for the world except my intention. So I'm in my heart and the divine is coming through me and I'm reconnecting into it, and the ascended masters and all the good stuff that's going on within that. There's so much goodness in it. But at that point, I'm contributing nothing really to the world, except the vibration I'm offering, which might be the most significant part of it. That might be the best bit and that might be enough. But in terms of the lower self, in terms of Jim, making his way through this life, then, I always say we're here for a human experience. We're here for a reason. I'm saying that a lot to my inner circle just now, like, don't blame me, you've been picked for this mission that we are on, to try and help the world. They're being called, they're coming in for so many different areas, and it's not my fault, I'm just sending the light and talking about what this is and what it's done for me, and then they come in and get on about it, and then the impact that it has in their life, and the benefits that they experience within themselves and their family, and, on every single area, everything gets better. So at that point, there's so much goodness and there's so much light. And the path and the work and the way that it needs to be done is in this realm. It's in the third dimension. And now I would disappear into the other realms, the spiritual realms. We get into the field, we connect with consciousness, to let go, to escape, to recharge, to become inspired, to tap into the flow, to simply be in it, to be in that eternal moment, which has been my favourite thing over the last few weeks, to really stop and feel the power that's in this moment. It's been incredible, the time, again, another illusion. Stuff that I'm tired of is time and the pressures of time and all that kind of stuff, and you realise that it's a man-made thing. And that every single thing is happening in this moment. And when you spend your time in that moment and you break the illusion and you get to experience, the power of fucking everything that's going on in this, Joe Dispenza calls it the generous present moment. Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. It's when you're really aware of that and you can tune into it. I've reached states over the last couple of weeks where, the vastness of the field, the vastness of this quantum field of infinite intelligence, when you're able to tap into that and become it, then nothing could ever be missing. You're already there. People are looking at success and what is real, in terms of, Wayne Dyer taught me that is real, which kind of never dies. The divine is the only thing that's real, and everything else is temporary. Every other thing comes and goes, no matter what it is. And that's where the question for me just now is, it's like, if it isn't that, if it's not that which is real, if it's not this work, if it's not the divine path, if it's not, in service to yourself, in service to God, in service to others, to try and bring some light into this world and get it back to the way that it's meant to be, then I'm really struggling with it. I can't be fucked with all that, the rest of that other side of it. It's a real challenge. And great realizations, because getting it is actually the ability to navigate your way through both parts of it. Being where I've been, and this person in particular, if they knew half of what I dealt with last year, without fucking no poor me, but it's just reality. The truth is that they don't know. In fact, nobody knows. But you get through it and you keep going, and if you can do that when it's in your hardest times, and still get up out of your bed every single day, and still, get it for yourself, and then, do your very best to pass it on, to serve God, to serve the light, to serve the truth in the way that it's meant to be, then the realization that I had, is that is really, that's what getting it means, to be a human being, to be in this world, to be not of it, but at the same time, to use these tools and techniques to navigate and still kind of serve at that level. It kind of made sense for me, and certainly the way that I'm trying to do it, and the intention behind what I'm trying to do, the human being side of it, that element of it, tied into the spiritual being element of it. We're here today both, so getting it is getting every single bit of it. It's not just about sitting fucking kumbaya and, discovering the true, authentic you, which is divine and all powerful and then living for that place. You're going to have enough time to do that when you snuff it, so at this point, getting it is the peaceful warrior. It's preparing for the worst and expecting the best. It's been in that samurai mind state of there is dark and there is evil out there. This world is, run and controlled by, whatever they are, that they're not good, whatever we want to call them, whatever it is that makes them up. They're not good, and it's certainly not in alignment with what I believe to be the truth and what I believe myself to be and know myself to be, and human beings to be. Many of them are now on the dark side. Many of them have they've been substituted over. They've been transferred over. They've signed up to go and play on that side, and that's fine. Let them do what they want to do. But for me, the light, the way, doing this lifetime properly in terms of what's available and what I know to be the truth, then that's what it's all about, obviously. So I've just been taking care of myself. That's all I've been doing the last couple of weeks. I remember the quote for JFK's father: if it's not necessary to speak, it's necessary not to speak. And I've not much to say. I've been really tending to myself. I've been working really, really hard in the third dimension, with a desire to help as many people as I can. We'll need to see how that goes. It's not looking too good at the minute. The lesson might be that I need to do it myself. Again, I keep going back to the same bit, like you need to do it yourself. The minute you're involved with anybody else, the minute there's any talk of kind of, not even partnerships, but affiliations or associations, or the minute I'm relying on somebody else or expecting somebody else to be at the same standards or level or speed that I'm going at, that can be a huge challenge. I get that. I go in there fucking guns blazing, talking about what I'd like to do and what we can do as a community and the good people I've got around about me. That's too fast and too much for a lot of people. I get that. So many lessons. I'm just kind of doing my best every single day, being present, tending to myself, tending to this work. The desire and the intention is to serve the truth, is to serve the light, is to be a soldier of God. That's what this is all about. To stand up and be counted in these times, I think, is very important. You don't get away with it anymore just kind of sitting on the sidelines and just seeing how it goes. That's fucking unacceptable, especially if if you understand that there's wrongdoing taking place and that people are losing their lives, and at some point you need to stand up. That's called integrity. That's called doing the right thing. And you will be judged on that when you stand before God and she asks you, like, how did you go? How did you do? What did you do? You're not going to get away with just shrugging your shoulders, I don't feel. So to stand every single day, to stand for what's right, to continuously talk about this way of living and being, to continuously talking about this path, and normalise it. We need to normalise breathwork. We need to normalise taping your mouth at night time. The amount of people that snigger when you ask about mouth taping at night time. The amount of people that when you talk about God, they repel, and they basically, you mentioned what the idea of God, their belief system and how much they prejudge you just by talking about something, not even talking about it, just mentioning it, something that should be the basic level for everybody. That should be the source from where we came and what we are and what it means to be a human being. That's obviously been taken away. You see that with all these fucking, you see it online, you see it in the world, you see it in people. We don't know who we are anymore, so we're lost and we're searching for something that they don't know where to look. And most people look outside for it. That's the interesting thing. That's what you see with all the young fucking influenzas. Or the viruses, they believe that when they get to Dubai, or they get that first class ticket, or they get that plastic the Richard Mille watch, when I want to take one of them for free. When you see what goes into trying to attain a watch that's worth hundreds of thousands of pounds, and what they think that means to them, and then you just see through the whole thing as a fucking waste of a life. And an illusion, just the amount of energy that goes into try and achieve something. And when you get to the end of the day, it comes and it goes, and it doesn't matter. And all the while, that which is real, the stuff that, that is eternal, the truth, that's inside of us. That's the bit that we need to go inside. We need to normalise that. We need to normalise meditation. We need to normalise, what that actually is. How to tap into this unified field of infinite intelligence, how to tap into the divine, how to know that you carry it inside of you. That's the stuff, that's real success. That's for me, like dedicating your life to that and discovering that and knowing that. The benefit that does you in the long term, if you get through this life and you get to the end of it, and before you die, you know that you're going back to spirit. And there's a power inside you, there's an essence inside you that once this body is done and dusted, then you become whole again. You go back into union with the Creator, with the divine, with God. You become that again. Before, maybe a short period of time, I don't know that bit yet. It might be, you get to go and then the illusion of maybe being separated. It might be back here. I certainly hope no for me. I hope my time is done this time around. But it'd be nice to be in a place where you get a choice, to see where you want to come from. Once you elevate and you understand and you see through the veil and you're not just fucking Bobby the mechanic, that basically worked his whole life and raised his wains and did his best and went to the fitba, and which is a good life. But Bobby the mechanic, if he had the opportunity to go inside and to stop his stress and to stop the demons and to give up the addictions, and to rest in his heart and rest in his soul and experience the power of God in this lifetime, you at least you need to give him the chance. You need to give him the choice, because Bobby just doesn't know. He just has one way of living and doing and being that's been given to him because of the environment he was basically born into and because of the system that he was trained under. So that's a very, very limited, it keeps you in that lower self, keeps you in the third dimension, keeps you, just lost in the circus and in the zoo, in the jungle, so, and this is where it's anybody, anybody has got it within them because we all come from the same source, so then the opportunity surely must be, to give people, this experience. That's the bit what this is all about. We need to gift people and then give them a choice. Once they get through the experience, if they don't like it and they tell you to beat it, then fair enough. But at least offer, the opportunity to go through it and see what it's all about. And then at that point, they can make an informed decision. Before that, it's just ignorance. Ignorance means we don't know. Ignorance is our only sin, just oblivious, because there's only this really narrowed, like what I believe is everything that I've seen. And there's no other anything outside of that. That's obviously a very limited way of making decisions from that very limited level of perspective. The stuff that you've seen, only the stuff that's been fed to you when you're in your cage. And then when you get beyond the cage and you get beyond the jungle and you get beyond the circus, the gates, and then you start to, be able to look into the stuff that maybe you can't see. And, you start to realise the connections, within yourself to that. And how that feeds into everything, So we're talking about the truth. We're talking about, something that they should be available to everybody, but very difficult to give to people. I know that, and it needs to be the experience of it. And that's something that unless, you come in and breathwork is so important, switching off the stress, but then intention to get into your heart and to reconnect into your soul. And that's difficult. There's not many people that are, certainly qualified to even talk about that, never mind try and get you that experience. But that's what we're doing. That's what this is all about, is to remember the divinity and to experience the divinity, and then eventually, to master the self, the lower self, and then to be in alignment with the higher self and then take it into the world. That's what it's all about. So there you go, getting it, being in the war zone, still doing the work, still doing your best, still helping if you can, still getting it for yourself, still showing up every single day, being on it, being off it, the highs, the lows, the ebbs, the flows, the stops and the goes, as my wife says, every single bit of it, but it's maintaining yourself, your true self, as you go through that. Life isn't going to be easy. It's funny when you watch a lot of these people that are just new to it and they get this massive awakening moment, and it's just like life is going to be like this forever, and I can pretty much tell you that it isn't. It's not meant to be, so at some point you will come off it, and then when you come off it, then you get to see what you're all about. And I'm at a point now where I come off it and nobody even knows. I've been off it for the last few weeks now, and I'm just like, Wayne Dyer taught me, don't complain and don't explain. Just keep doing your best. Sometimes that means fucking, you might need to do stuff you don't want to do. I've been in the cold every day for the last week again. I've been using cold showers, and it's been freezing outside. Early in the morning time, just jumping in the cold shower, giving myself with my wee nervous system a jolt. I don't want to do it. I can't be bothered doing it. It doesn't feel like doing it, but I kind of need it. you know, and it makes me feel better for the rest of the day. It tends to the lower self, you know, so doing the stuff that you don't kind of want to do but need to do, you know, because at this point in time, you know, we kind of, you need to be fucked. You can't just not be fucked and disappear and run away from it. That isn't going to work. There's too much at stake just now, you know, so I need to be fucked just now. I need to be doing this the best that I can, and knowing that sooner or later it will come back again, and then you get to experience it and get it when you're on the upstroke as well. And then if you can get it when you're down and get it when you're off, or certainly like use it to make your way through it, or to survive your way through it sometimes, then when it really comes back again and you're flying again, there's nothing like it. You know, that's why Abraham Hicks says, like, savour the contrast. I'm savouring the contrast just now. You know, I've been savouring the last year, as difficult as it's been, you know, the human experience and all the challenges that I'm faced, you know, but it's going to get better, of course it is. But that way of making it better comes from me. You know, it's the responsibility, that ability to respond and make it right for myself and do what I need to do, you know, to make it better. So that's where we're at. Number 79, getting it, sending my love to every single one of yous. God bless the circus. God help the circus, deepest love to all of that. Keep tending to yourself, keep focusing on the solutions, keep focusing on the light, and we keep moving forward. God bless, peace out, take it easy, and bye for now.